Good afternoon, or I guess still good morning. Welcome to this March 7th meeting of the Early Childhood Subcommittee. On the agenda for today, I believe, are 4 bills. We're going to start with HB 475, which is the legislation we heard from Delegate Corman to establish an open source phonics matching grant program.
In a couple. I'll see you.
But if everyone can make sure that they are muted, please. Thank you. So this legislation creates a new grant program funded at $150,000 a year within MSDE to provide open source materials for adults who are doing tutoring for students on phonics. Alistair, anything else we should highlight on this bill?
No, I think that nails it.
All right, and there is no amendments on this bill. Any questions or discussion?
Madam Chair, move favorable.
Second.
Thank you. The bill's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of HB 475, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That comes out favorable. Moving next to HB 1195. This is a bill I'm sponsoring that is to make sure that our child care providers have the information that they need to protect a child who's in their care who has a severe food allergy. We do have some amendments on this bill, which I actually don't have in front of me. So I'm going to let Alistair talk about what those amendments are.
Yeah, so this bill is following up on a bill that the General Assembly passed last year, requiring that guidelines on anaphylaxis and allergies be updated in the schools. This is expanding those guidelines to the child care setting. And so the amendments just sort of specify the precise content of the what should be in the guidelines. Specific notification is included in the amendment that has to notification of a child's anaphylactic allergy be included in emergency protocols, that staff who come into contact with a child be included in the guidelines, and that employees of child care providers be included in an immunity from civil liability that's part of this bill. So they're pretty much just tweaking around the edges to make sure that it fits.
So any questions about the amendments? So again, it's expanding the indemnity clause for an employee or childcare provider who's acting in good faith to administer epinephrine, like an EpiPen, to a child they think is in anaphylactic shock, and then just clarifying around the guidelines that the Department of Health and Department of Education will put forth to provide more information for providers. Okay, no questions or discussion. Can we have a motion on the amendments?
Move the amendments, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, amendments have been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the amendments, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, anyone opposed? Almost everyone on the bill as amended.
Move
favorable.
favorable. And second.
Sorry, Delegate.
No worries. It's not my lane on the highway.
Thank you. And I'll just give the heads up, getting, the perennial issue of unstable internet here in the House office building. So, but that was moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of HB 1195 as amended, please say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Okay, that one comes out unanimously favorable as well. So let's next move to HB 86. This is Delegate Boyce's bill on bronchodilators, you might know it better as an inhaler, and regarding of that asthma medication in public schools and non-public schools. We do have amendments that were distributed this morning. I will note that there is one additional change in these amendments that we'll need to make, but Alistair, do you want to walk through the amendments as distributed, and then we can highlight what the one word changes that we're going to make on the fly?
Sure. So as introduced, this bill made changes to the auto-injectable epinephrine standards and expanded and created standards for the administration of bronchodilators in schools. So the first thing the amendments do is strike the references to auto-injectable epinephrine throughout and just leave that as it currently is in the code. Then the amendments specify, so the Department of Health and county boards are required to establish a policy for the administration of bronchodilators in schools. And the amendments clarify the training that has to be part of that. The training is created by MSDE in consultation with the Department of Health to identify the symptoms of asthma and respiratory distress, identify the symptoms of anaphylaxis, and distinguish between the two. And that training, in addition to a couple other provisions in the are required as part of the model policy that that has to be adopted in each county board, including procedures for recognizing the need to administer a bronchodilator, a requirement that bronchodilators be stored in schools, and the authority for county boards to offer a standing order for the administration of bronchodilators. And the bill also authorizes but doesn't require non-public schools to adopt a similar policy, and so the same changes are made for the non-public schools that are made for the public schools.
Let me first see if there's any questions on what's in the amendments. Okay, seeing no hands up. So the one change we're going to make here on the fly is in the definition for school personnel. It currently says school personnel means individuals who are employed by a public school, or in the case of some school nurse staff, by a local health department. We're going to strike the word nurse and instead say health. So just that way we're being more inclusive and making sure we're not just specifying school nurses, but also including like health techs or other personnel who would work in the school nurse's office and might potentially be administering this medication. Yes, Delegate Grossman, did you have a question?
I think I'm fine. No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to offer that verbally here as part of the committee amendments that are before us. Alistair, should we vote on that one separately as the amendment to the amendment, or can we just loop
I
that
think
in?
you can roll it together, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to say again, so it's saying, or in the case of some school health staff by a local health department. If there's no questions or discussion on the amendments, could we get a motion, please?
Move the amendment.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, so the amendments are adopted unanimously. Any discussion or questions on the bill as amended? All right, otherwise, could we get a motion, please?
Move the bill as amended.
Second.
All those in favor of HB 86 as amended, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, that one also comes out favorable unanimously. So moving on to our last bill for today, HB 785, the Freedom to Read Act, which we discussed in subcommittee a couple of days ago. The amendments that we discussed in subcommittee are still the amendments that are before us today. And I do want to say I appreciate the thoughtful discussion and follow-up from some members of the subcommittee on this bill. But as I said, at this point, the amendments that we discussed in subcommittee at our last meeting are still the amendments that are before the subcommittee. Could I get a motion on those committee amendments, please?
Motion to move the bill favorable. Amendments favorable.
Second.
All right. Questions or discussion on the committee amendments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the amendments, please say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Okay, so the amendments are adopted on the bill as amended.
Move favorable.
Second.
Any questions or discussion on the bill as amended? All right, all those in favor of HB 785, please say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Delegate Long. HB 785 comes out favorably from the subcommittee. So unless I've missed anything, Alistair, I think that was it for our list for today. Okay, thank you all for the quick work of it. And for those of you who are on election law, they will be meeting next. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned for today.